Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Let's Max Warframe, where we're going to be delving into the void and checking out the latest Prime offering, and that is the eagerly awaited Tiberon Prime. The original Tiberon's a burst rifle that has somewhat of a cult following, and those that love it have been calling for a Prime version every single Prime access for as long as I can remember, quite frankly. Well, it's now here, so what do we get? Well, it's a rifle that quite literally has something for everyone. What does that mean, I hear you asking? Well, it actually has all three different types of fire modes. The single shot, semi-auto mode, burst mode, and a fully auto mode. This means that if you hate semi-autos, you can put it into burst or fully automatic, and that makes it a weapon that suits all playstyles. Each firing mode does have slightly different stats though, so depending on your favourite mode you might want to mod it slightly differently, although to be honest, as you'll see later, the stats are high enough that a single build can fit all three fire modes. First one is the Tiberon's traditional fire mode, and that is Burst. Thankfully all three modes have the same base damage of 46, most of that's puncture, and then equal amounts of slash and impact, although to be honest all three are fairly close to being equal. The burst mode comes with a crit chance of 28% and crit damage multiplier of a fantastic 300%, makes a crit build definitely worth building for on here. Its status chance of 20% also means that running with dual stats on here to push up those is really going to work fantastically well. Semi-auto mode has very slightly increased crit chance of 30%, even better crit damage of a fantastic 340%. That's amazingly high. In fact, that is the highest crit damage multiplier of any primary weapon. But that increased crit comes at the slight cost of 2% less status, which at 18% still makes running dual stat mods to buff that status chance actually still worth it. But then there is also the fully auto mode, which is where the bigger stat changes come. Still got the same base damage of course, but a much reduced crit chance of 16% and a crit damage multiplier of still a pretty awesome 280%. It does make a crit build work really nicely still, it's just enough for that to work. However, those crit changes are because of the largest change, the buff to its status chance of a huge 32%, which is enough to hit 100% status if you add all four of the dual stat mods. I think there's only one other weapon that can do that, which I think is the Bolter Prime, and that's really nice. I mean, it's not really more than anything more than a quirk. Realistically, you're still going to be building for crit and status rather than pure status, but it is a pretty fun quirk of the weapon. The stats supporting these fire modes are all pretty decent, to be honest. As far as I could tell, it doesn't really have any actual downsides. The reload speed of 2 seconds on its own is actually pretty decent and feels fast enough in combat where it's not a hindrance. Even if you constantly reload like I do, it really doesn't feel that bad. But it even has a 42 round magazine, which is large enough that you're not going to be reloading that often anyway. Recoil is fairly high, but it's nothing that can't be controlled with a bit of player skill. It's not like some weapons where it has too much to control and be accurate, but you can very easily counter the recoil and keep the weapon on target. The build, as I hinted earlier, was going to be a generalized build that works for all of the different firing modes, although there's one variation I would go with, but I'll go over that in a sec. I added 3 formats to the weapon, brings it up to 4 Vs in total, in which I went with Serration, Split Chamber, Prime Door, Normal Shred, depending on which one you have, Point Strike and Vital Sense for crit chance and crit damage, and then right now I have Malignant Force and Rhyme Rounds on there for viral damage and the viral proc, and then Hunter Munitions for a chance to apply a slash proc every time you crit. Now, I found this to be very good all-around build, although it does suffer a bit against the Infested, which have a lot of minuses against Viral. Viral's there to halve the enemy health every time you proc, and then the slash proc is to cut through armor and shield and directly attack that now halved health. There's no damage reduction or anything going there, and you don't have to worry about shields at all, so it is going directly to that health. If you wanted to use Corrosive though, or if you were going for a build more focused around the full auto, maybe gas damage, I would switch out the viral damage for Corrosive and put either Bladed Rounds, Argon Scope, or even Vigilante Armaments to complement that. Gas works extremely well against the Corpus if you're planning to use that more status focused full auto mode. So while the build on screen is definitely a really good all-rounder, you can change it up a little bit depending on your own taste. So what do I think of the Tiberon Prime? Is it worth taking and maxing out? Well, yes, it really is. The weapon itself is fantastic. In fact, it's top tier in pretty much every single class of the weapon. Full auto, burst and semi-auto. It's the best of every single world and will deal with whatever content you throw it into. The footage in the simulacrum shows a little of what it can do, and as you can see, it really does shred very nicely indeed. To be honest, the 3-mode fire thing is, for me, it's a little bit more of a gimmick than anything else. I don't find myself switching that much between the different modes mid-combat. More often than not, I choose one and then stick with it. More often than not, it's going to be the burst mode for that true Tiberon feeling. Because while each mode does have different stats, I don't find them different enough not to choose my favourite mode and just stick with it. Things like the human element of the single fire, plus, you know, feeling like I'm going to destroy my mouse, it means that my damage output in single mode is likely to drop, despite that slight buff to crit. So in all honesty, I just picked the one mode I liked and went with it. But the Tiberon Prime really is pretty amazing and presents the player with the best of every world. Those that love the later on series have a semi-auto rifle that hits like a truck. Those that love burst weapons finally have an in-game weapon that can genuinely deal with sorties without the need of a ribbon. And those that love fully auto have another option to play around with. All of this in a package that looks incredible. Let's be real, this is probably one of my favourite looking weapons in the game right now. It is awesome looking, and looks go a long way into helping me love a weapon. So the Tiberon Prime, looks, versatility and the performance to back it up. It really is the jack of all trades and master of them all. It's worth the farm, worth the former, and you are certainly gonna love it. So I hope you enjoyed my look at the Tiberon Prime. More videos coming soon. Apologies for how long it's been and how long it's taken me to do this. This last week has been incredibly busy, but I hope to be back to my old ways very soon. But for now, many thanks for watching, and I shall see you in the next video.